Hello everyone, so wonderful to see you again. It's Judy from Coffee, Cookies and Books, and what we've got today is our April book releases. All right, so we're going to get started with our releases. Now, it's month of April that we're covering, and let me tell you, we have a ton of releases for the month of April, like a ton, okay? And you know me, I try to bring you a lot of variation in what I'm showing you, but because there were so many releases, I have tried to basically eliminate a lot of YA, that kind of thing, because that's not something that interests me. Now, it might be different for some of you that you read a lot of YA, but I don't think that some of it just didn't seem all that interesting. So I did remove some of that. I had some on my list, and I had to narrow it down. I had way too many books, and even with narrowing it down, we're still going to cover a lot of books because there's a ton releasing in April. Yeah, so it's going to be a fun year, I would say. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first release date in April, and that would be April 7th. All right, so let's get started with the 7th of April. I have about 20 books for us to go through, so we're going to slam through these as quick as I can because these videos are long enough as they always are. Always, because usually I have a minimum of like 40 books. So in this case, we have a ton of books. And I'll let you know if there's anything in particular that I'm interested in or anything that I have on pre-order, which would be this first book that we're going to look at. So the first book is Rites of the Starling, and this is the second book in the Shield of Sparrows series. Now, I have no idea how long the series is going to be. I don't know if the second book, if it's just a duology. No idea. It's written by Devney Perry. I am a fan of her romance books, and I read Shield of Sparrows, gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. So I cannot read because it is a continuation, but suffice to say that it is about the journey of a princess who mistakenly has to be married to a prince. Well, not mistakenly, but she was picked by them, and she wasn't supposed to be the princess that was supposed to marry the guy. And it kind of went from there, and it was so good. Okay, so good. So I really enjoyed the first one. Can't wait to get into the second one. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I have not even read the synopsis myself because I don't want to read it. Like, I do not want to read it. I have the book on pre-order, and when that book comes, it's probably going to get popped into my TBR as an automatic read because I want to read it. Okay? I don't want to wait. So that is the first book that I had on the list. The second book I had on the list for the 7th of April is The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clarke. So this is, it says it's listed as thriller, mystery thriller, suspense, cozy books. I'm not sure what all that covers, but we're going to read a little bit of the synopsis. It says 6 authors, 1 private island, 72 hours to write the ending that will change their lives. Arthur Fletch, one of the world's best-selling novelists, is a reclusive genius known for his iconic protagonists and fiendish twists. When 6 struggling authors are invited to spend a weekend on his private Scottish island, they arrive to discover a shocking secret. Arthur Fletch is dead, and his last book is unfinished. Desperate to publish the novel, Fletch's agent and editor have summoned these authors in the hope that one of them will imagine a worthy ending for this final book. To sweeten the deal, they are offering an irresistible prize. In addition to ghostwriting the last chapter for a mind-boggling sum, they will also help the lucky writer successfully relaunch their own career, guaranteeing future bestsellers. The catch? The writers have just 72 hours to finish Fletch's magnus opus. opus. It's the perfect plot. All it needs is a killer ending. This actually sounds really good. Now, usually with my mysteries and thrillers, I do not buy them for full price. I wait, and they always come up on Book Outlet, like always. And so I grab them during Book Outlet sales and usually get them for like $7.99. So, and I usually get the hardcovers. So I typically will wait on this, and I will not pick this up right away. But if it comes available on Book Outlet, I will grab it because I love the sound of that one. Okay, next one is, and this is another one that I pre-read this one, and I'm like, this one sounds so good. So this is called Yesteryear by Caro Burke, and Natalie Burke has given us, Burke has given us an absolutely riveting character, bitchy, narcissistic, and uncaring, yet also incongruously relatable and wickedly entertaining. As it sends both mega and online culture, this deliciously funny, topical, and fiercely intelligent debut also probes deeper questions about authenticity, ambition, kindness, celebrity, and consumerism, and what it means to be a woman in America today. It also a propulsive page-turner, impossible to put down. A remarkable debut, both a book for the moment and one that will endure. So that was one of the reviews that it had, and I did like the sound of that. And then it says, my name is Natalie Heller Mills, and I was perfect at being alive. And so it looks like it's like a funny sort of grim look at the tradition of fame and faith, and kind of gives two pieces of her, it's hard to describe. It looks like it got a bit of a time travel thing, a little bit in there. So anyways, I thought that one sounded really interesting. Okay, next one, The Book Witch by Meg Shaffer. And I've never read anything from Meg Shaffer, but I think that most of her stuff is kind of fantasy. And this one is fantasy paranormal, and I think her stuff has a bit of a cozy leaning to it. Could be wrong, but that's the impression that I get. Rainy March is a proud third-generation book witch, sworn to defend works of fiction from all foes, real and imaginary. With her magical umbrella and feline familiar, she jumps in and out of novels to fix malicious alterations and rogue heroes like a modern-day magical Nancy Drew. Book witches live by a strict code. Real people belong in the real world. Fictional characters belong in works of fiction. Do not eat, drink, or sleep inside a fictional world, lest you become part of the story. Falling in love with a fictional character, don't even think about it. Okay, this one sounds really good, I have to admit. Yeah, I do really like the sound of this one. So, it sounds adorable. Oh my gosh, yeah. Sounds like super adorable. So, it just says she can hop into any novel, but she can't stay there. So you know that's going to make things really complicated, right? Yeah. All right, next one, American Fantasy by Emma Straub. And this is listed as literary fiction, genre fiction, family life. What do we have? Let's read a little bit of this. When the American Fantasy cruise ship sets sail for a 4-day themed voyage, aboard are all 5 members of a famous 90s era band and 3,000 screaming women who have worshipped them since childhood. Feeling slightly out of place amid this crowd is Annie, newly divorced, turning 50 with an empty nest, and here on a lark to appease her sister. Yet when the lights come up and the idols of her youth begin to sing, something is unlocked. Call it memory, call it nostalgia, call it the chemical reaction of hormones, hope, and sexual reawakening. Between the slushy, alcoholic drinks, the familiar music, and the throngs of middle-aged women acting like lovesick teenagers, Annie finally reconnects to a long-submerged part of herself. By the time she meets one of the band members, not just a celebrity, but someone in need of a friend, she has access to a new sense of possibility. Oh yeah, no, it sounds good too. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but I did think it sounded interesting. Okay, next one. Loved by the Book, Jessica George. So this is literary fiction, Black and African American women's fiction. So friendship is the love story you can count on. Remy is lucky. Her debut novel, based on her three best friends, became an instant bestseller when it was released, and her agent and publisher are clamoring for a follow-up. But just as Remy's creative inspiration seems to leave her, so too do her friends. One moves to New York, one gets pregnant, and one gets back together with her awful boyfriend. After an ill-advised one-night stand complicates matters further, Remy is left deeply alone and unable to find her next book idea. Simone is successful, a kindergarten teacher with a passion for kids and a well-paying side hustle that affords her all the material comforts she desires. She doesn't have time for a robust social life. All Simone needs is her close-knit family. But after the true nature of her work is revealed, they cut her off, and she realizes for the first time just how isolated she is. When Simone and Remy bump into each other, literally, in a bookstore, it isn't exactly soulmates at first sight. Simone is guarded and prickly, Remy is insecure and heartbroken, and each woman is harboring a secret. And yet, they might just be the missing piece the other has been searching for. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that. Sounds good. Okay, next one. So this is one of the YAs that I have left in, and I left it in because I know a lot of people like this author. And this is The Escape Game by Marisa, Meyer, and Tamara Moss. So it's a dual writing team. I love the cover. I love the cover. I think it's awesome. 6 months ago, season 4 of The Escape Game ended in horror when contestant Alicia Angelos was found murdered on set. Now, season 5 is underway, and new contestants are ready to put their skills to the test, solving the show's trickiest escape rooms. There's Addie, the cryptographer, Carter, the math whiz, Beck, the wannabe game master, and Sierra Angelos, the girl who got away with her sister's murder, or so everyone believes. But Sierra's not just here to win, she's here for justice. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. Sounds like it says mystery thriller, so it is under the mystery thrillers. So this is not a fantasy, because I know Marisa Meyer writes fantasies, typically. So this one sounds good. Okay, and for me, with YA, I'm okay with YA that fall under the mystery thriller genre. I'm fine with that, usually. So that's why I left this one in. Next is another YA that I left in, not necessarily for me, but for everyone else, is Release Me by Tahereh Mafi. Now, this is book 2 of the Shatter Me series, The New Republic. So I believe this is part of the secondary series. Now, I have the first book in the first part of the Shatter Me series, and I just bought it to see if I was going to like it or not. Have not read the other parts of it, but I figured I would give that one a try. So I don't know. I don't know if I should read this, because I don't know if it's a continuation or if it's different people. I have no idea, because I don't know how the series typically works and how it falls. So I'm not going to read any of this. I'm going to leave that for people who know about the series. But it says it's the searing second volume in a new series in the Shatter Me universe 10 years after the fall of the reestablishment. Okay, so that's that one. Next one, The Paris Match by Clayborn, and this is said to be genre fiction family life. A woman tests the limits of her so-called amicable divorce when she flies to Paris for the destination wedding of her former sister-in-law, only to butt heads with the deliciously gruff best man in a poignant and romantic novel by Clayborn. Just going to leave it at that. It's a romance. Beautiful cover. Again, the stunning covers coming up. This one's really lovely. Okay, the next one, The Wicked Sea by Jordan Stephanie Gray. This is mythology and folk tales, fairy tales. So sounds like a retelling of some sort. In this dark and sultry romantasy, a mermaid battles hatred and lust for the wretched warlock who saved her life. Mermaid Zephyra of the Seal dreams of freedom. On the run from a dangerous captor and years of abuse, she sheds her tail, grown legs, and hidden herself on the land in the marrow-loathing kingdom of Mortia, left to steal and barter on the dirty streets, but her freedom is short-lived when she's caught and sentenced to death by the brutal warlock Arian Stone. Arian is as beautiful as he is cold and deadly, only interested in punishing the marrow he views as evil. He has grown as strong as any warlock might, but at great personal cost, which can only be remedied by the heart of the god of death, lost to the fabled kingdom beneath the ocean's treacherous depths. So you can kind of see where this is going. Okay. I mean, this is clearly romantasy. Sounds like a little bit of Little Mermaid kind of ideas happening there, which might be where the whole fairy tale thing kind of comes in. But yeah. All right. Next one. This one is it's considered dark fantasy. And this is Bloodsinger by Juliette Cross. It's book 2 in the Fire That Binds series. And I do not want to talk about this one. I won't read the synopsis because it is the second book in a series. But I know, what was the first book? The first book was Firebird. I knew which one it was. I just couldn't remember because I didn't read either. I read one of Juliette Cross's books previously and didn't care for the writing in the book. So I have not tried this series. And this one, I think, if I remember correctly, Firebird was a little bit controversial. So we'll just leave it at that. Okay. So the next one is called London Falling by Patrick Radden Keefe. This is a true accounts organized crime. Now, I put this in because of nonfiction, and I love the sound of it. Mysterious death in a gilded city and a family search for truth. So in the early morning of November 29th, 2019, surveillance cameras at the headquarters of MI6, Britain's spy agency, captured video of a young man pacing back and forth on a high balcony of Riverwalk, a luxury tower on the bank of the River Thames. At 2:24 a.m., he jumped into the river. In a quiet London neighborhood several miles away, Rachel Bretler was worried about her son. Zach had told her that he had gone to stay with a friend, but when he did not come home days later, a police car pulled up and 2 officers relayed the dreadful news her son was dead. In the unbearable grief, Rachel and her husband Matthew struggled to understand what had happened to Zach. He had his troubles, but in no way seemed suicidal. As they would soon discover, however, there was a lot they did not know about their son. Only after his death did they learn that he had adopted a fictitious alter ego, Zach Ismailov, son of a Russian oligarch and heir to a great fortune. Under this guise, Zach had become entangled with a slippery London businessman and a murderous gangster known as Indian Dave. As the Bretlers set about investigating their son's death, they were pulled into a different and more dangerous London than the one they'd always known, and came to believe that something much more nefarious than a suicide had claimed Zach's life. So I'm not going to continue on with that, but this is a true story. It's basically the investigation into what happened to their son. And I mean, he was only 19. So tragic, but I loved the sound of it. It just sounded like really intriguing and very different, very unique. And those stories always capture my attention. So it's that one. Next one is the book 5 of the Lucky River Ranch romance, and it's Ryder by Jessica Peterson. One hard fall in the rodeo ring, one maddening, gorgeous cowboy, one chance at love she swore she'd never take. So, obviously, this is this like enemies to lovers? It's an interconnected standalone book of the series, but it doesn't say if it's second chance. I don't know. In the years she's known him, Ryder has never entertained Billy's shameless flirting. So they've known each other for quite some time, it looks like, in here. Anyway, so that's that one. Next one, Year of the Mare by L.D. Lewis, is a dark and bloody epic fantasy reimagining The Little Mermaid. So this is another one. It does say that it has LGBTQ2S plus themes. So it's a reimagining of The Little Mermaid that goes far beyond the fairy tale to explore family legacy, war, and what we will sacrifice for vengeance. The perfect read for fans of Priory of the Orange Tree and Circe's. So I'll leave it at that. It actually does sound good, and I really enjoy epic fantasy, something that I might entertain getting at some point. Next one is The Girls Trip by Ali Condie, and this is from the same author as The Unwedding. I do have that book, but I haven't read it yet, and this is a thriller suspense, and it says, Hope, Ash, and Caro met at an online book club. Over the past 2 years, they've been there for each other in every way except in person. When each of their lives reach a crossroads, they decide to meet in a real life at the gorgeous Sonnet Resort at Eden National Park. A novel of suspense and friendship about 3 friends who decide to disappear from their lives for a few days while on a trip to a national park, only to have one of them vanish. Okay, so leave that there. Don't want to say too much because it's a thriller. Okay, next one is A Killer in the Family by Amin Ahmad. And it's an intoxicating drama set in the world of New York's elite. A Killer in the Family explores the underside of the American dream and asks what happens when you marry into a family that keeps secrets. It's time for Ali, a good-natured Mumbai party boy, to grow up. The first step is settling down is an arranged marriage to Mariam, the daughter of Abbas Khan, a New York real estate tycoon. She's pretty, demure, and respectable, unlike her sister Farhan, a sexy, rebellious divorcee. I'm just going to leave it at that. And yeah, it doesn't say that it's a thriller, but it says A Killer in the Family. So what does that mean? It does say thriller and suspense in the bottom tags, so could very well be. We shall see. Next one is Harmless Women by Rebecca Sharp. In this pacey thriller, a female con artist chooses the wrong woman as her target, and both women end up on the run for their lives. How does that even happen? I don't want to read anymore. It does sound good, though, doesn't it? Yeah. So one's a grifter, the other one's wealthy. So that makes for an interesting duo, I think. Next one is The Subtle Art of Folding Space by John Chu. This is exhilarating debut science fiction novel from Nebula and Hugo Award-winning author John Chu. Channels unhinged physics, generational trauma, and the comfort of really good dim sum. This isn't your usual jaunt through quantum physics. It says a work of crystalline vision and meticulous humanity. So not really my cup of tea, but I could see where some people might be interested in this particular one. I love the cover. Again, great cover, right? Okay, and the last one that I have for the 7th of April is Twisted Pond by L.J. Shen. This is the second book in the Society of Villains series. It's a dark romance about an assassin mafia heir and the villainess who refuses to become his next victim. It's Dark Hunter times Hunter standalone. Please check trigger warnings if you have any. So I always check for trigger. Ugh, I can't even get it out. Can't speak English. Check for trigger warnings no matter what book you're going to read. Basically, if anything triggers you. Like, I'm not the type of person that I ever look at trigger warnings. I look at them more for you guys than I do for myself. Because I don't usually care. Some things creep me out a little bit, but that's usually it. Okay, so that's it for the 7th. So now we're going to move on to April 14th. All right, so yes, I have moved positions and changed outfits. So the camera died yesterday. I used my iPhone for my recording, and I did quite a lot of recording yesterday, and so we ran out of juice. So I had to wait until today to finish recording, but you know, that's okay, right? Yeah, sure. Keep telling myself that. So anyways, we are, of course, starting off with April 14th. Bring my coffee forward because I need my coffee. And we have quite a few for the 14th of April, so we're just going to get on with it. Japanese Gothic is the first one by Kylie Lee Baker. I am actually reading the arc of this right now. I think that I'm going to potentially order this. I'm just waiting to see if it comes up maybe Aardvark or Book of the Month, because it is a very odd sort of book, and would be really nice if one of them featured it so I could grab it from there, and certainly would be a lot cheaper because the hardcover is $39 and there is no paperback option at this point. Anyway, it is, because I am quite enjoying what I've read so far in the e-arc, but I don't know that I want to read further because I want to read it in print. But we'll see. If I don't get it in print by the 1st of April, then I will finish the e-arc. So that's kind of how I'm managing it right now. Okay, so it says, in this lyrical, wildly inventive horror novel interwoven with Japanese mythology, two people living centuries apart discover a door between their worlds. October 2026, there's Lee Turner, and he doesn't remember how or why he killed his college roommate. So that's kind of what we're starting with in the book. October 1877, Sen is a young samurai in exile, hiding from the imperial soldiers in a house behind the sword firms. A monster came home from war wearing her father's face, but Sen would do anything to please him, even turn her sword on her own mother. She knows the soldiers will soon slaughter her whole family when she sees a terrible omen, a young foreign man who appears outside her window. So the two of them, I think, can see each other through this door. This author also wrote The Bat Eater. Yeah, I mean, it sounds fascinating, and what I've read so far, I've really liked. So we shall see. I've never read The Bat Eater. Never picked that one up yet. If it shows up on Book of the Month, I probably will grab it at some point. Okay, so then the next one is Cherry Baby by Rainbow Rowell, and this is family fiction. It was the cutest cover. It says, breathtakingly honest novel about a woman who lost everything and isn't sure she wants it back. Everybody knows that Cherry's husband Tom is in Hollywood making a movie. Almost nobody knows that he isn't coming home. Tom is the creator of Thursday, a semi-autobiographical webcomic that's become an international phenomenon. Semi-autobiographical? That means there's a character in this movie based on Cherry Baby. Wide-hipped, heavy-chested, double-chinned Cherry. Cherry never wanted this. No fat girl wants to see herself caricatured on the page, let alone on the big screen, but there's no getting away from it. Baby looks so much like Cherry that strangers recognize her in the grocery store. While her soon-to-be ex-husband is in Los Angeles getting rich and famous and being the internet's latest boyfriend, Cherry is stuck in Omaha taking care of the dog he always wanted, the house they were going to raise a family in, and wondering who she's supposed to be without him. Cherry had promised to love Tom through thick and thin. She'd meant it. One night, Cherry decides to leave her problems, and including Tom's overgrown puppy at home. She ventures out to see her favorite band play her favorite album, and someone recognizes her from across the room. Russ Sutton knew Cherry when she was a young art student with a fondness for pinup dresses and patent leather heels before Tom. Russ knows Cherry. He likes Cherry. And best of all, he's never heard of Thursday. Sounds like a bit of a romance in there. I thought it sounded cute. I don't know. Maybe a little bit cozy. At least that's what it sounded. At first, when I was first reading through the synopsis, it sounded like it was going to be maybe a horror. But I don't think so. It's coming down to where it's like a journey for this woman. I'm just waiting. The street cleaning thing just went by, and that bloody thing is loud. Jeez Louise. Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear it because I know that the microphone is noise canceling. It usually cancels out that kind of stuff, but you never know. Okay. So the next one is actually a thriller, and it is Last One Out by Jane Harper. And it says, captivating new novel set in a modern ghost town. Carolyn Ridge, a once vibrant village in the rural New South Wales, has become a shell of itself. Its houses and buildings bought up and left to rot by the mining company operating at its borders. A decade into its slow death, surrounded by industrial noise and swathed in thick layers of dust, the skeletal town is all but abandoned, with just a handful of residents clinging onto what remains. After years of scorning those who left the ridge behind as it fell into ruin, Roe never imagined she'd become one of them. But everything changed when she lost her son. 5 years ago, Sam vanished while visiting during a break from college, leaving behind a rental car with his belongings inside. Sam had loved Carrion Ridge and had been working on an oral history of the town to preserve its legacy before it vanished altogether. It wasn't long after his disappearance that the rest of the family began to crumble away too. But when Roe returns to Carillon Ridge to be with her husband and daughter on the anniversary of Sam's disappearance, she begins to suspect that something important was overlooked in his case, because while nothing can stop Carolyn Ridge from dying, someone seems to want to make sure that its secrets die with it. So, there you go. A suspense. Who figured? You know? There's always a lot of them. Okay, next one is The Auction by Sadie Kincaid, and it's listed as thriller, suspense, crime, organized crime. It says, the Queen of Dark Mafia, Sadie Kincaid, begins her new explosively sexy Wages of Sin series with The Auction. Beauty and the Beast meets organized crime in this tense, slow-burn romance with scorching spice, thrilling suspense, and life-altering secrets. That's all I'll say about that one. It's got like this crazy special edition that is available, which is, yeah, kind of cool. I mean, the cover takes like pretty and makes it a little creepy, right? Yeah, Mafia. Okay, next one is A Happy Ending by Chloe Leese, and it is a clever and heartwarming rom-com that is perfect for fans of Christina Lauren and Annabelle Monaghan about two best friends who must fake a relationship for their exes. There's that one. That one sounds fun. It actually reminds me, even the cover reminds me a little bit of Emily Henry's books. Yeah. Okay, next one, The Thorn Queen by Sasha Peyton Smith. This is the second book in the Rose Bargain. And I don't know if there's only two. It says 2 of 2. So, and this is the sequel to the hit. And I am not going to read the synopsis because it is a sequel. We'll leave it at that one. Next one, Stranger Things Have Happened by Casey West. Now, this is a romantic comedy. Can fake dating lead to real love? In Casey West's new sexy adult rom-com, two people must decide where the lie ends and the chemistry begins. So I know quite a few people have enjoyed her previous books, so it's not part of a series from what I can tell. I don't think she writes series. Okay, next one. While You Were Seething by Charlotte Stein, another romantic comedy. There goes that damn truck. You know that truck's gone by 3 times now. Okay. While You Were Seething by Charlotte Stein. So, romantic comedy. The road to love is bumpy. In Charlotte Stein's While You Were Seething, a sexy and heartwarming contemporary romance filled with fake dating hijinks, delicious forced proximity, and top-tier banter. So, that's that one. Looks like she's plus size, which I think is great. Okay, next one. Go Gentle by Maria Semple. This is general fiction, literary fiction maybe. The author of Where You Go, Bernadette returns to form in her most exuberant and life-affirming novel, yet with the story of one woman's cheerful determination to live a life of the mind only to have the heart force its way in. It says, I'll read a little bit of the synopsis on this one. Adora Hazard has had it all figured out. A stoic philosopher and divorcee, she lives a contented life on New York City's Upper West Side, having discovered that the secret to happiness is to desire only what you have. She's applied this insight to blissful effect, relishing her teenage daughter, the freedom of being solo, and her job as a moral tutor for the twin boys of an old money family. She's even assembled a coven like-minded women who live on the same floor in the legendary Ansonia and is making active efforts to grow its membership. Adora's carefully curated life is humming along brilliantly until a chance meeting with a handsome stranger. So, sounds like a bit of a romance too. Okay, next one is Too Close to Home by Seraphine Nova Glass. And this is, it says family life? I don't know. I think this woman writes thrillers. Does she not? Oh, that's what I thought. 2-time award-winning author of On a Quiet Street and The Vacancy in Room 10, nothing in this idyllic community is quite what it seems. Those lucky enough to live in the elite lakefront community of Clover Hill Lakes are drawn to it for its safety and top-notch school district. The moms meet for coffee at the park while their kids play. They're heavily involved in the PTA, and the summers are filled with Chardonnay, brunch sundresses, and backyard bonfires. But everything changes when Reagan Hoffman's car explodes at the annual Labor Day party. The wrong person is killed, but it was meant for her. As the carefully crafted walls of her community begin to crumble, Reagan tries to keep it together, something made infinitely harder when she sees her dead husband alive. So it is a bit of a thriller, obviously. Yeah, I thought that one sounds good. Next one, The Insomniacs by Alison Wynne Scotch. This is contemporary women's fiction. The lives of 4 sleepless strangers intersect late at night as they attempt to solve not just their own anxieties, but also the mysterious disappearance of one of their own. From New York Times bestselling author Alison Wynne Scotch. The city that never sleeps, it's not always easy to share what's on your mind when the people who know you, with the people who know you best. Huddled in an all-night diner over coffee and pancakes, a lonely middle-aged mom, an injured baseball pro, an elusive retiree, and a young waitress examine the thoughts that plague them in the middle of the night. That one. Next one is one that I'm assuming people are waiting for, is The Tempest Blade by Daniel L. Jensen, and this is book 6 of 6 in the Bridge Kingdom. So I think that there are twos, and twos. Like, it's a 6-book set, but it's a 2-book set. So this would be the final one for the previous book that came out. Not sure what that is. So I do not want to read the synopsis because obviously that's going to give away because they are continuations. They're duologies. So it's a set of 3 duologies basically of the 6. I figured that out eventually. So I don't want to read this on, but yes, so it is coming out on the 14th of April. And I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for this one. Okay, next one. These Familiar Walls by C.J. Dotson. This is thriller, suspense, supernatural ghosts is what it's rated at. A spine-chilling, heart-pounding suburban horror novel at the heart of the genre. Perfect for fans of T. Kingfisher, Cassandra Caw, and Catriona Ward. In 1998, desperate loneliness pushes preteen Amber to ignore the misgivings of her family, particularly her younger sister, when she befriends the troubled new kid in the neighborhood, a boy with dead eyes, a fascination with fire, and no remorse. Their turbulent relationship is brief, but creates lasting consequences. 22 years later, in 2020, he resurfaces to kill Amber's parents and is in turn betrayed by his accomplice and killed in Amber's childhood home. That's all I'm going to read. I'm not going to read anything more than that, but yeah, certainly sounds creepy. Okay, next one is one I have on pre-order, and it's The Faith of Beasts by James S.A. Corey, and it is book 2 in the Captives for, what was book 1? The Mercy of Gods, I think was book 1. Yeah. And so I do not want to read this because this, again, is a continuing series, and I do have the first one, and I won't read anything James S.A. Corey. I know it's a dual, 2 people, and whatever these guys write, I will read it because I love their writing. So can't wait to get the sequel. Next one is West of Wicked by Nikki St. Crow, and it's horror dark fantasy. So it is a fantasy. Don't know if it has romance involved in it or not, but let's read a little bit. No one is safe in Yellow Brick Road. Dorothy Gale doesn't know where she came from. At the age of 5, she was dropped on Em and Henry's doorstep while a terrible storm rolled across the Kansas prairie. Now, as an adult, Dorothy has made the most of her life on the farm, but when a cyclone tears through the night, ripped her dog, and the farmhouse away, Dorothy wakes to find herself far from home in the strange, cursed land of Oz. So obviously, it is a retelling of The Wizard of Oz. Had to think about that for a second. Sorry. And it looks like it's the first one in a new series called The Great and Terrible Land. Okay, next one is Chasing the Fire by Paisley Hope. This is the 5th book in the Silver Pines Ranch series, which is typically interconnected romances. This one says Laurel Creek's fire chief is good at putting out fires and keeping secrets, but the town sweetheart is determined to burn through his defenses in the blazing hot finale to the Silver Pines Ranch series. Now, it doesn't list any tropes. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. No, it doesn't list any, but we'll leave it at that for that one. Okay, next one is Stay for a Spell by Amy Combe. This looks like a bit of a cozy type fantasy. It says a cursed princess must discover what her heart truly longs for in this charmingly cozy romantic fantasy for everyone who's ever lost or loved themselves in a bookshop. So it does have romance in there too, which I think is fantastic. Okay, next one is Handle with Care by Mary Beth Mayhew Whalen. And it says small town and rural general fiction, a story about finding hope in the face of hardship and connection in the face of crisis. Handle with Care is a novel for our time. 3 women walk into a post office. This is no joke. It's the spark that ignites a life-altering crisis. I'll leave that there, and love the cover. I don't know why, but there's just something about it that really captures your attention. All right, next one is Don't Tell Me How It Ends. And it says it's general fiction. No, it looks like a romance to me from the cover, going by the cover. A floundering 20-something who's sworn off romance finds herself roped into her meddling sister's matchmaking business in this sparkling debut rom-com that asks, can we protect ourselves while falling in love? So it is a romance, but it's not listed here as romance, which is kind of silly, right? But you can kind of tell by the cover that it's romance. Okay, next one is Hope Rises by David Baldacci, and this is the second book in the Walter Nash series, and that is a crime investigative series. Walter Nash began a journey down a dark path of seemingly no return, and now he finds himself questioning everything that got him there in this thrilling sequel to Nash Falls. Okay, and I think, did I feature Nash Falls? Sounds familiar, so I might have featured that at some point. Okay, next one. And actually, last one I have for April 14th, it would appear, is Wife-Shaped Bodies by Laura Cranehill. And this is lesbian fiction. Sorrowland meets Manhunt in this literary horror debut in which an isolated newlywed covered in mushroom growths like all the other wives in her community strikes a precarious balance between following her husband's strict rules and pursuing an intense connection with a woman who makes her question everything. It does sound a little creepy. Okay. All right. So that's it for the 14th. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to April 21st. Okay. So the smallest batch we have actually is for the 21st, and it's only 8 books, but it starts off with a bang, which is Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth. And I have read from, I think one or two books by her before, and I liked them. So typically I will always consider something from her. Have not pre-ordered this. I am kind of hoping either Book of the Month or Aardvark will pick this one up. So we shall see. So the little tagline on it says, "Sanity is subjective." And from Sally Hepworth comes a twist-filled, darkly funny mystery about two kinds of people no one ever suspects to be murderers: little girls and old ladies. Okay. Just going to leave it there because I think that says it all. So I do really would like to read this one. But again, it's one of these ones that if I'm hoping one of the two picks it up. If not, then potentially it would show up in the book outlet eventually. And usually it doesn't take that long for them to roll out into book outlet, especially for popular titles. So we'll wait and we'll see. But that one sounds interesting to me. The next one I do have on pre-order, and that is The Caretaker by Marcus Cleaver. I do also have an ARC of this. However, I realized after I got the ARC that this is the concept of the book is written in a similar fashion to We Used to Live Here. And that is one of those books where you need to basically translate the Morse code, and you have to sit there, and you need to read with intensity on his books. At least that, because that happened to me with the first book, We Used to Live Here. When I initially read it, it was 2 stars. And then I did a full reread after listening to a bunch of booktubers talk about it extensively. And I went back and reread, and I realized how much I missed. So I will not be reading the e-arc, but I will rate it after I've read the book. So the book's going to come in, and it's coming in at the end of April, and I'm going to be putting it on my May TBR. It's going to get read right away. So, okay. Anyway, this one I will read the synopsis because it sounds fascinating. Okay. Exciting opportunity. Caretaker urgently needed. 3 days of work, competitive pay, serious applicants only. Macy Mullins can't say why the job posting grabbed her attention. It had the pull of a fisherman's lure, barbed hook and all. Vaguely ominous, but after an endless string of failed job interviews, she's not exactly in the position to be picky. She has rent to pay, groceries to buy, and a younger sister to provide for. Besides, it's only 3 days of work. 3 days cooped up in a stranger's house surrounded by Oregon coast wilderness. What starts as a peculiar side gig soon becomes a waking nightmare. An incomprehensible evil may dwell on this property, and Macy Mullins might just be the only thing standing between it and the rest of humanity. So, yeah, and there is all kinds of Morse code again in the book. So, yeah, I can't wait to read that one. Very much looking forward to it. Okay, next one is Thistlemarsh by Maria Corrigan. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Apologize if it's incorrect. And it says it's fantasy, paranormal, urban. Fairies disappeared over 100 years ago as suddenly as slipping through a doorway. It was only the very foolish or the very determined who held out hope for their return. Welcome to Thistlemarsh, a ramshackle estate where an impoverished orphan and a beguiling fairy collide in an enchanting novel of love, revenge, and ruin. So it sounds like it's got a fantasy romance in there. Yeah, beautiful cover. Yeah, some of the covers lately have been really stunning. So this, yeah, love that cover. Okay, next one, Honor and Heresy, a Gothic academia novel and LGBTQIA. Instagram sensation Max Francis makes his highly anticipated debut with this atmospheric, Gothic, dark academic fantasy of two scholars racing each other to find answers to an invasion in a haunted library. Perfect for fans of Catabasis and A Study in Drowning. There's that one. It says, what is love without its tragedy? Definitely. Okay. Next one, The Witch and the Huntress by Luna McNamara. And this is a fantasy again. Two Greek mythology's most complex and powerful women, Medea and Atalanta, join forces on Jason's quest for the Golden Fleece in the suspenseful sapphic reimagining from the acclaimed author of Psyche and Eros. So I think that sounds really interesting. I don't want to read the synopsis, this is quite long, but again, beautiful cover. I would imagine this is going to show up in some of the fantasy boxes that are going out there. All right, next one is Flirting with Murder by Amanda Sellett. It is book one of the Castle Claude mysteries, and it says it's teen and young adult and humorous. So it is cozy, obviously, which is why I put this up there. And it says the Agathas meet Thursday Murder Club in Amanda Sellett's next YA novel, a cozy mystery with a splash of romance. So there you have that one. I think that's a great cover too. Love the colorway on that cover. Yeah. Next one is The Antiquarian's Object of Desire by India Holton. And can I just say this cover? It's like what is it with the covers? This is just really cool. I love this cover. Okay. I don't know. Some people may hate it. I like it. That's when this is book 3 of 3 of Love's Academic. When two history professors and best friends are forced to fake hate to protect their reputation, chaos ensues, and the next rollicking historical fantasy rom-com from beloved author India Holton. So it does say it's general fiction, but I think that's a better description. Historical fantasy rom-com. Now that's unique too. Okay? Definitely unique. And the last one we have for the 21st is The Mountains We Call Home by Kim Michelle Richardson. This is historical general fiction in the standalone companion novel to the book Women of Troublesome Creek series. Our heroine for the ages, legendary bookwoman Cussie Lovett, returns home, a powerful testament of strength, survival, and the magic of the printed word. The Mountains We Call Home is wrapped into a vivid portrait of Kentucky life, examining incarceration and criminalization, exploring the effects on the poor and powerless, and tracing the societal consequences of fractured family bonds, along with nostalgic glimpses of a bustling, multifaceted Louisville and heartwarming portraits of reading efforts in every facet of life. I think that sounds great. And that is our last book for the 21st. So now we're moving on to April 28th. right, so we're ready for the last batch of books that we have. Is for April 28th. And we've got, 14 books in total for you. And the first one is King of Gluttony by Anna Wang. And this is the book 6 of 6 in the Kings of Sin series. So I believe this is the last one. This is interconnected romance books. And the 6th book in this deliciously steamy Kings of Sin series, where bad boy billionaires must atone for their sins in order to earn their love stories. She is his greatest rival and his greatest weakness. So we will leave it at that. I know there's a lot of people probably waiting for that one. Wanted to make sure I mentioned it. Then the next one is Molka by Monica Kim. She wrote The Eyes Are the Best Part, and I do have that in my library. Have not read it yet, but this one sounds amazing. This is horror, okay? From the award-winning author of The Eyes Are the Best Part, violent, smart, gruesome, and wildly original, a provocative journey into a perilous world of voyeurism, scandal, female rage, and vengeance pursued with a very sharp kitchen knife. Mocha, an abbreviation of Moray Camera, a sneaky camera hidden to capture covert images and videos for voyeurs. I'm just going to leave it at that. This does take place in Korea, and there is, I think, a bit of a guy filming women, and it goes from there. So, filming them without their knowledge. So, we'll leave it at that. Okay. So, lots that one. And I do want that one. So, I'm like, you know, this is another one where I'm kind of hoping like Aardvark picks it. Aardvark would be the one to pick it out up, I would think, over Book of the Month, for sure. Usually. Okay. Next one is We Burn So Bright by T.J. Klune. And this is obviously LGBTQ. It says it's gay. The heart-wrenching standalone novel by T.J. Klune, We Burn So Bright, follows an elder gay couple on an end-of-the-world road trip. I think that sounds good. End-of-the-world road trip. Yeah, the road stretched out before them, no other cars, just the headlights on the blacktop above the cracked moon in a kaleidoscope sky. Husbands Don and Rodney have lived a good long life together. They've experienced the highest highs of love and family, and low so low that they felt like the end of the world. Now the world is ending for real. A rogue black hole is coming for Earth, and in a month, everything and everyone they've ever known will be gone. So, yeah, I think that sounds fascinating. It sounds like it will be a really good story, and I've heard a lot of good things about T.J. Klune's writing, so... Okay, next one is The Radiant Dark by Alexandra Oliva, I think is how it's pronounced. A rival meets wild dark shore in this captivating novel that follows a family over 50 years, a bold and compassionate exploration of the universe around us and what it truly means to be human. And it is rated as general fiction, family life, multi-generational. So this actually does sound like something Book of the Month would pick up. It sounds like right up there, like their cup of tea. Okay, next one is Darkest When the Devil Comes Home by Daisy Pierce. And this is horror, and it says British Irish, so obviously it is over in the UK area. Full of creeping dead and suffocating unease, Darkest When the Devil Comes Home is an atmospheric and chilling novel from Something in the Walls author Daisy Pierce. The woods are known as the place to avoid. What goes in doesn't come out. Leave it at that. The tagline on the book cover says she's his captive, but something has come with her. Yeah, and like the cover. Creepy, right? Yeah, really creepy. Okay. Next one is Death Meets Cute. Death Meets Cute. Death Meets Cute. That's like, I think it looks okay, but when you read it, it reads weird. Or maybe I'm just weird. Anyway, by Jay Penner. It says it's a fantasy filled with so much love, heart, and delicious baked goods. It's one of the, by Rebecca Thorne of Can't Spell Treason Without T. I am more than capable of being evil today, I think. Iris Wayward wants to be bad, truly bad, terrifyingly, gloriously villainous. But after helping her sisters unleash a spell to throw the realms into chaos, Iris is left feeling strangely empty and still not the villain of her dreams. So she sets out for the quiet town of Freywell to build her wicked legacy alone. Things start promisingly. A crooked little cottage, a reputation for curses and potions, and a healthy dose of fear from the locals. But when her ogre bodyguard disappears, Iris needs new muscle. Needs new muscle. Good thing a fearsome orc just toppled over in her yard. Naturally, she decides to reanimate him. It's a perfect solution. Oh. So it sounds like it's got a bit of a cozy feel to it. Really cute. So next one is Bloodbound by Ellis Hunter. It says it's book 1 of 1 of the Cursed Covenant. So I'm assuming more books will be coming in a series. You duel or you die. It says on the cover. That's the tagline. Debut high-stakes fantasy romance trilogy. So there will be 3 books. Set against a once-in-a-generation duel to the death between rival witches and dragon riders as they battle to control the source of all magic in their kingdom. Perfect for fans of Fourth Wing, Throne of Glass, and Quicksilver. And it's like under epic fantasy, so it sounds like a bit of an epic feel. Definitely romance in there. All right, and I do love the cover. Again, I gotta state it, right? Very cool cover. Okay. Next one, How to Cheat Your Own Death by Kristen Perrin. This is book 3 of 3 of the Castle Knoll Files. So from the gritty streets of 1960 Soho to the loft galleries of present-day West London, 2 interlocking mysteries decades apart unfold in this latest installment in the award-winning, best-selling Castle Knoll Murder Mystery series. So it's women's sleuths, and it does sound like it's a bit cozy, and it goes between 1968 and present day. So that's that one. Then we're on to Chasing the Clouds Away by Debbie Macomber, and this says it's contemporary women's fiction. It's an uplifting story of an unforgettable chance encounter between a successful yet jaded businessman and a woman who sees but also expects the best in everyone, sparking an unlikely romance that challenges their assumptions and about generosity, trust, and the gifts of unforeseen love. It's that one. And then the next one is The Duke by Anna Cowan, and this says it's a Regency romance, secrets, scandal, blackmail, longing. A sapphic Regency romance about the Duke who fears nothing until the woman she never forgot walks through the door and brings her to her knees. Set in a world of powerful female nobles and the women who love them. That one. Then we have The Island Club by Nicola Harrison, and this is historical fiction, it says. An unputdownable novel of love's lost and found, shocking secrets, and the power of female friendship. Looks like it's based in 1956, so that's where the historical part comes in. And one of the tags says The Island Club is a Carrie Soto is back meets Big Little Lies delight that will exceed all reader expectations. A story of the power of friendship, the defiance of societal expectations, and the finding of one's true self. So it sounds like it's also like women's fiction. All right, the next one is An Accident of Dragons by Cherry Radke, and doesn't say whether it's part of a series or not, so it looks like it could be a standalone. An unlikely lord finally meets a problem he can't flirt his way out of in this dangerous and lighthearted, queer, cozy fantasy featuring pirates, dragons, kidnapping, tea, and other high fantasy delights for readers of Rebecca Thorne, T.J. Klune, Sarah Beth Durst, and Travis Baldry. So it's a cozy fantasy. And the last one that I have for the 28th, A Murder Most Camp Mystery. I think by Nicholas Damasio, I think. Damasio. Nicholas D. Damasio. This is me trying to figure out how to say these names without making a real mess of them, okay? Which I did with that one. But anyway, I let you see all of that. I'm not going to edit any of that out. I want you to see that because it's funny, right? Okay. So this is gay fiction. The Guncle meets Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies in this fun, twisty murder following a spoiled Nepo baby forced to work at a struggling summer camp who stumbles into a real-life murder mystery he has no choice but to solve. Rustic cabins, lakefront bonfires, a painful hot lifeguard, and a murder. Summer has never been this camp. Okay. I think camp is meant as campy. Yeah. Anyway, so it sounds cozy, but there's a murder. So cozy murder mystery, but gay. So there you have that one. And that is our last and final book. And I totaled it all up, and there were 64 in total. So yeah, a lot of books, I know. But there's actually a fantastic selection there. There's a little bit of everything for everybody, I think. You know, I mean, we all have different tastes, right? And we all try to find something that is going to appeal to us. And I think there's a lot of wonderful books in there that sound very appealing. I mean, in total, I think I only have, let me just double check my list here. I have two or three on pre-order. Just two of those on pre-order, but some of them I'm waiting to see what happens with Book of the Month and Aardvark, because those are my two main subscriptions that I have. I don't have any other book subscription at this point. Broken Binding, sci-fi and fantasy one is only an occasional one that I get from time to time. So, but the two main ones are Book of the Month and Aardvark. So we'll see what comes up for April 1st with those two, because there are so many amazing, but between March and April, like an amazing amount of books coming out. And I just love to be able to bring all of that to you. So that's the end of this video. It's a long one. I know it's a long one, but with 64 books, it's got to be long, right? Yeah. But I know you love my long videos, and I do separate them out by date so that you can skip to the different release dates, and all of the books are always listed below, so you can see what books fall under what release dates as well, so that makes it a little bit easier to do that. And yeah, I think that's it for now, and we will see you in the next video.